I want to bring in NBC's Vaughn Hilliard, who's covering the White House. NBC's Melanie Zanona is on the Hill for us. Elise Jordan is a Time Magazine contributor and former White House aide under George W. Bush. She is also an MSNBC political analyst. Welcome to all of you. Melanie, how would you characterize the level of resistance among Republicans and even among those speaking out? Are they doing something? What are they actually doing?
Well, I would say the level of Republican resistance at this point is still fairly mild. Now, we have seen a number of Republicans speak out against the process itself, including a lot of those Republican lawmakers who were confronted by angry constituents at town halls and demonstrations at home in their districts last week. That includes Richard McCormick. I caught up with him yesterday. He represents a deep red district in Georgia, and he said that he wants to reach out to Elon Musk directly to urge him to be more compassionate with carrying out with these cuts and layoffs. He says he understands that they have to do it, but he just wishes there would be a little bit more humanity in the process. And McCormick also told me that he wants to bend Trump's ear on this issue as well when he's going to be there for a previously scheduled White House meeting. I also caught up with another Republican, Scott Fitzgerald of Wisconsin. He was confronted by his constituents who were demanding answers about just how many layoffs there were going to be, what the impacts would be, and Fitzgerald couldn't answer, which is something that I've heard from a lot of Republicans who are frustrated by the lack of heads up that they're getting from the White House about these DOGE moves. But Fitzgerald said his mission today, returning to Washington, is that he is going to be demanding more information from the Trump administration about exactly what is happening with all these DOGE moves.
You know, Vaughn, just to level set, the president hasn't shown any inclination to split from Elon Musk. It was during the hours of this program yesterday that he said Musk's ill-fated email idea that included threats of firing was genius. That was his word. So what are the chances Republicans could actually convince Trump, if they were willing to talk to him about it, to tell Musk to back off a little bit?
It's not clear, and that's because even agency and department heads, some of Trump's closest allies, like Kash Patel at the FBI, ordered employees that they didn't have to respond to that initial email. And that's when President Trump yesterday in the Oval Office said that individuals that didn't would be, quote, semi-fired, which led Elon Musk just moments later to put out another social media post on X saying that there would, in fact, be consequences if folks didn't reply to the second email. And that is where so many are turning directly to President Trump. And there's one other interesting person in all of this, and I think it's worth talking about Susie Wiles, the chief of staff. Why? She just received earlier today a letter, we are now learning, from 21 employees of the U.S. Digital Service. Now, folks will recall that that unit inside the executive office of the president is what President Trump in his executive order turned into DOGE. It went from the U.S. Digital Service to the DOGE unit, and 21 of the individuals who had been working inside of that very unit, in a letter to Susie Wiles, the chief of staff to the president today, announcing their resignations. I want to let you look at part of the letter in which they write, quote, "We will not use our skills as technologists to compromise core government systems, jeopardize American sensitive data, or dismantle critical public services. We will not lend our expertise to carry out or legitimize DOGE's actions. The sudden loss of their technology expertise makes critical systems and Americans' data less safe." And so this is coming after probationary employees were already let go from that unit, further consolidating the power structure and dynamic within DOGE around Elon Musk and the specific individuals who he brought in from outside of the administration to join this effort. Susie Wiles, much like during the campaign, we have heard very little from. She was not a public, outward-facing spokesperson for his 2024 presidential campaign, and so it's not clear exactly behind the scenes the extent to which she is wading into this. But so far, we have seen President Trump, not only during the transition, but now in the first month and a half of this administration, cede a great power to Elon Musk to go forward with the types of cuts that he sees fit. And in this situation, it's a matter of whether the secretaries and whether the agency heads will follow suit with the demands of Elon Musk.
Elise, let me get your reaction to that, because they're making some pretty strong statements, including talking about things like jeopardizing data.
I want to go back to something Vaughn was talking about with the 21 employees of the White House office that's now DOGE that quit. and to your point, Chris, this is institutional knowledge. A White House is a very complicated environment, a very complicated security environment. There are procedures at the National Security Council, which I'm more familiar with because that was where I once worked. And I'm sure that the same is true, that these bureaucrats have institutional knowledge that actually probably would be very beneficial to DOJ as they go about their mission. And so just to surrender those employees and to let that institutional knowledge go out the door is a huge misstep for Elon Musk and his mission. Because if he wants to be effective, he has to know how to be a good bureaucratic infighter. And what we've seen so far is that seems to be a very lacking influence as far as what you see in terms of effectiveness. You see chaos right now, and chaos politically is not good for Donald Trump. That was in 2020, talking to focus groups of voters who had they had voted for Trump in 2016, but they were leaning towards Biden. It was the chaos that pushed them over the edge. They just didn't want the chaos. Voters might like some of what he's trying to do, but they don't want their essential services to be disrupted. They don't want to see their neighbors just fired and left, not able to pay their mortgages. So I would say the combination of not heeding to and understanding, because you have to have a little bit of humility about the bureaucracy, and just sacrificing that institutional knowledge only promises more chaos.
Yeah, I mean, we really are looking at two sort of distinct lines here, right? On one hand, you have what's in this mail. We will not use our skills as technologists to compromise core government systems, jeopardize American sensitive data, or dismantle critical public services. That's one part of it. The other part of it is just how you treat people if you make a decision that jobs have to go. And, I was thinking about Georgia Republican Congressman Rich McCormick, who said he wants to bend the president's ear. He's been on the receiving end of some pretty aggressive criticism from his constituents. You wonder if either of those things will have an impact, or if one takes precedence over the other. On one hand, everyday Americans, can they still influence what's going on in Washington? Or will insiders be listened to who are saying, Elise, you're not doing what you said you're doing, which is making government better?
Is that question for me?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, no, exactly. So I was just, this is so sweeping and so sudden. And again, the chaos has just swept everyone, knocked everyone, off their feet, because it's hard to know how to respond when there's such an onslaught of new initiatives coming every day, new dismantling. It's very easy to break things. It's a lot harder to clean them up. So politically, you have an overwhelming desire among plenty of the electorate for cutting government, for ending waste, for eliminating government positions that aren't necessary. And I fully support that we need to digitize and get the government up to speed in terms of today's technology. But you don't want to see the sudden chaos without any plan or any understanding of what happens in the aftermath.
Yeah, and Melanie, at the same time, you have a lot of Republicans who are basically shrugging off the criticism. I want to play something that Congressman Mark Alford from Missouri said.
The unfortunate thing is that this was organized protests, I think, from some outside agitator groups. We are not losing support. We are gaining support. My district is firmly behind what President Trump is doing and what DOJ is doing to right this ship.
And we've heard that from other Republicans who have been in tough town halls as well, who said, it's a lot of Democrats. And yes, reporters who have been in the room say there are Democrats, but there are also Republicans who voted for the member of Congress. I just wonder if what we just heard from Congressman Alford is something you're hearing a lot from Republicans on the Hill.
Yeah, that certainly has been the message from the Republican leadership. They are showing no signs of being spooked by some of these town halls and demonstration in Republican districts. In fact, some of them were organized by progressive groups and outside groups. And the Republican leadership is still very confident that the public is on their side when it comes to this mission of reducing federal spending and rooting out government waste, fraud, and abuse. Just take a listen to Speaker Mike Johnson.
I'm not going to tell the executive branch how to operate. I've got enough to handle over here in the legislative branch. But I will say that I think the vast majority of the American people understand and applaud and appreciate the DOGE effort, the goal to scale down the size and scope of government.
So Republicans putting on a united front here, even as some cracks are starting to merge behind the scenes among Republicans. But Democrats are confident in the strategy that they are coalescing around. They are seeking to highlight some of these critical government services that are being impacted. They're telling the stories of federal workers, including veterans who are out on their jobs. So this is going to be the Democratic strategy going forward, and they feel confident that they will have the stronger strategy here.